All right, welcome on in. The MLS Club and Country post-game show. U.S. Wales, the opener for both teams from Group B in Qatar. 1-1. A goal from Tim Weah in the 36th minute. Wales bunkering in the first half. In the second half, thanks to Kiefer Moore, a little bit more expansive. Just a little bit, but what it took was a foul from Walker Zimmerman. PK goal from Gareth Bale in the 86th minute. 1-1 is the final score. England, top of Group B. A 6-2 victory for them against Iran in the morning's game. A disappointing draw. I think that's the word that I would use for this, Bruce, for the U.S., given the state of play, given the lead that they held, and the fact that they held at the 86th minute. What are your thoughts on this result for the U.S.?
Well, I would agree with disappointed. However, we still got to respect the fact that we got a point in the opening game of the World Cup, and that's critically important. That keeps us alive. We're live into Game 3 at this point, regardless of the result in the next game. So that's the positive. However, it's disappointing. We didn't find a way to get a second goal, and we made a mistake that created the penalty kick for Wales, and we walk off the field 1-1, and that's disappointing. And hopefully they can regroup and be ready to play England on Friday.
You have player ratings that folks can find at MLSsoccer.com. You're going to go file those in a second. I'm curious who's at the top of those player ratings for you and who would be at the bottom.
Well, the top would be, I think Pulisic over 90 minutes was our best player. I give Robinson credit. I thought he had a real good game. Weah scored the goal. You got to give him credit for that. And I thought Musa had a solid game. The lowest rating, certainly, you'd have to say Zimmerman conceding the penalty. And I thought Sargent was way too quiet on the day.
All right, Bruce, thank you so much for joining us for this watch-along of U.S. Wales. We have watch-alongs for every U.S. and Canada game right here on YouTube Live as well as Twitch, the MLS channels throughout this tournament. Bruce, thank you so much. It was awesome hanging out with you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
All right, Bruce is going to file his player ratings over at MLSsoccer.com. Charlie, we're going to wait for Matt Doyle and try to sort through. I don't think it's wreckage. Mm-hmm. My word is definitely disappointment. What is your word?
Disappointed, but I'm also optimistic because this is a group that is learning how to close out games. I think when you have that goal, which was massive, I love the play. They just didn't continue. It was almost as if they were satisfied, and they had to keep pushing. They had Wales on the ropes, and so for me, that's where they have to take that next step is shift the mindset from, okay, we got our goal. Now let's just defend and keep a clean game to we got that goal, floodgates open. Let's keep going. Let's push. They're not threatening us. So let's keep it going. And we didn't see that from them because look at the shots. We had just one on target. 6 shots, only 1 on target. That's not good enough. However, it's a point. You look to build off that. And now you're playing against the Giants in England. No one expects you to get a result in this game. After they thrashed Iran, you didn't really take care of business against Wales. Yes, you were largely the better team. But England are coming in all high and mighty. They're feeling good. They already thought this was an easy group for them. The 6-1 result in the morning, I think, further justified that. So now they're coming in. They're feeling pretty good. This is where the U.S. have to take it up a notch and go out and try and get that result, shock the Giants. And I'm feeling confident considering that this performance, for the most part, I think gives the group that outlook.
We always talk about this. We have been for the last 8 years. This is our moment to see the U.S. on the biggest stage. And we got it. And for a while there, it looked like for the second World Cup in a row, it was going to be 3 points to start. It was dramatics in the U.S.'s favor against Ghana in Brazil. In this case, it was dramatics in the favor of Wales and Gareth Bale. That country's been waiting since 1958, 64 years for this moment. What disappoints me, Charlie, and I think that's why I go to disappointment, is to what you said about sort of urgency and also just mechanisms to create true dangerous opportunities. Outside of that goal, outside of Sargent's header, what true goal-scoring chances did the U.S. create? And, the whole first half, Wales is in a deep block. They're inviting pressure. They're saying, try to break us down. We didn't really have a mechanism to do so. We didn't really have players who were getting in positions. for either the runs, for the 1v1s to win, to sort of stretch that back line and make them go backwards. And I thought the second half, what disappoints me is coming out of halftime, you just need a goal. Wales did not have two in them. They barely had one in them. And the only goal they got in this game was via error on the U.S.'s part. Walker Zimmerman, I think, is going to look back on that play and really rue the fact that that he makes that decision in that moment. Really the first big decision defensively he had to make all game. But this is where we've sort of complained, commiserated, wondered if the U.S. has that extra gear, if they're able to create opportunities at a volume and from a state of play, in this case, Wales back saying, hey, can you break us down? We've wondered if they could do that, and they didn't show that they could in the second half, and that's disappointing to me. In the first trip back to the stage in 8 years, I wanted more. I wanted more from sort of a, certainly from a results perspective, but also just from a, an urgency and aggression perspective.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted most was to see this U.S. team come out and say, this is our game. We are going to take it. And I just don't know that I saw that for anybody other than Christian Pulisic tonight, and he just absolutely got beat up trying to do it in the process.
Yeah, I would say Josh Sargent had that early near post flick. Other than that, not too threatening. And so I think with Timothy Weah's goal, that also gives me encouragement and hope that Greg Berhalter will move him to the 9 to start, just because of those runs. That's what you need from a 9. Haji Wright even came in with that burst of energy, showed he could hold up the ball, has a little bit more pace than Josh Sargent. I think that's where we need to focus on that number 9 position, because it's going to open up everyone else underneath. And that way you can ultimately get another gifted player with the ball at his feet, whether that's Brent Aronson playing in that right winger spot to come in and set the press, or Gio Reyna, who's very gifted. And now, without Gio Reyna getting minutes in this game, it's either A, he's not quite fit enough, which I hope that's not the case, or B, they were saving him for the England game, considering this was the result. It was 1-0. They did enough to get it. And then once Wales got that goal, they figured we're not going to put him in to take off Christian Pulisic or take off another attacking player. We'll wait. And so he'll be good to go from start against England. I'm hoping that's the case, but the number 9 position needs to be a little bit more dynamic, just because we saw Josh Sargent, he lost the ball a couple of times. I can see him making the move to get in good spots, but just didn't seem ready for the occasion. It was a step too slow in a lot of cases. And that for me is not going to be able to do it for the U.S. to get them into the next round.
All right, Matt Doyle will be with us in a second. Let's bring Christina Unkel in. She is our refereeing expert. This is a game, Christina, in the first half dominated by some yellow card decisions. And in the second half, the big question mark was a penalty that I don't think was a question mark. What did you think of the referee's performance? And what were the big themes for you today on that side of things?
Yeah, so I think collectively, kind of like you said, maybe the referees did go back and talk about player management and kind of a little too strong, right? At the same time, we didn't see as many yellow cards, right, in the second half when we dealt with that. But the penalty, we all agree, it's silly. The referee had a great angle on that, called that. That's what in the referee world we call it an easy penalty kick that we kind of want, so that we know that there's no controversy surrounding it. And another really good call in the 60th minute. There was a challenge on Ballistic as well. And, that wasn't a good no-goal. But right here, right, we got that challenge on the back. Ref has a great angle, great call. Unfortunately, it was pretty reckless by him to commit that. But you got to give it, as the referee did. Agree with that. Agree with the fact that he changed his management style of the players. But one of the biggest things that, like I said, that right there, that's pretty darn clear. So I don't think there's much contention. But one of the probably bigger contentions, in my opinion, on this overall match, and I think there's going to be quite a bit of tension, is this, this emphasis on strict refereeing in the game. Right? That's something that Colina has come out, the chairman of the referee committee, saying we're going to have really strict refereeing. And where that tension is going to happen is we have yellow card accumulation in this tournament, meaning 2 yellow cards, you sit out a game, and it does not reset until we enter into semifinals. I think we're going to find a lot of tension there, and probably seeing some of these stars, right? We have 4 in the United States already sitting on a yellow card. They're going to have to play pretty careful in the next match. All
right. Thank you so much, Christina. We hope for fewer PK decisions in the future to come. Greg Berhalter speaking on Fox right now. Matt Doyle is with us. We give thanks to Christina for all her expertise. 4 yellow cards, as she said, for the U.S. Tim Ream in the 51st, Serginho Dest in the 11th, Weston in the 13th, and Kellen Acosta in the 90 plus 10 to prevent, a Gareth Bale shot as Matt Turner spins and recovers. Doyle, we both gave a word for this match. Mine was disappointment. What is your word for this opener at the World Cup for the U.S.?
I thought promising. I
Interesting.
really did. Yeah, I really did think it was promising for the U.S. Obviously, I mean, they switched off after the goal and they were never able to get the game back. But I thought a lot of the guys out there played pretty well. They were missing some sharpness in the final third. I thought Pulisic was really poor. I didn't think that Josh Sargent provided much on the ball, though I thought his work off the ball was really good. But there were some obvious moments, especially in the second half, where it's like if you just pick your head up and you look to the right, Christian, you'll see Tim Weah making another run, and you'll get your second assist of the game. So I thought that there were moments. I thought it was a promising performance. I thought they didn't give Wales anything from open play. And that's, for the second youngest team in the tournament, I think the second youngest team the U.S. has ever had in the tournament. That's not a terrible way to open this World Cup. It obviously would have been better with 3 points. And I thought we were the team that was closer to getting those 3 points. So I'm not super disappointed by it.
I think that's the disappointment for me, is that they're on the brink of delivering on the performance with the result. And one moment sort of takes that away. Give me your 3 things from this game. What are you sort of thinking about adding up? I know you just filed your column. So what stands out the most for you, Doyle?
I mean, the first thing is just when you have control of the game, the best teams keep control of the game. And that's the difference between the U.S. and the very best teams right now. Like these 2 teams are pretty evenly matched. And I know that people don't necessarily want to hear that or think that about the U.S. versus Wales, because Wales, they don't play how should I put this? They don't play the most, aesthetically pleasing soccer, right? But when you get 2 teams that are basically evenly matched, it's hard for one to dominate the other for 90 minutes. And in this game, that meant that when Wales came out with more purpose in the second half, they were going to be the protagonists. And that was complete 180 from what we saw for at least the first 36 minutes of the first half. So that's 1. 2 was verticality. I thought the U.S. did a really good job of creating that basically throughout the game. And that was something that we didn't always see in World Cup qualifying. Like the U.S., there were times in World Cup qualifying where they'd win the ball in a good spot in central midfield, and then they'd sit on it, and they would take the air out of the ball, and they would take the rhythm out of their own attack. And we didn't see that this game, which is why I thought it was promising. I thought there were a lot more moments to get out in the open field, and they just didn't quite execute on them. And then the third was, like, for half an hour there, the U.S., I thought, did a really good job of dictating the pace and tempo of the game with the ball. They were doing that disorganize the opposition with possession thing that Berhalter always talks about. It wasn't perfect. Like, they didn't look like 2010 Spain, but there were moments. And for a young team getting their feet wet in the World Cup for the first time, I think it's is a pretty decent showing.
Charlie, what do you think of
Charlie's nonverbal reactions to all of that were so expressive.
I just wanted to bite my tongue. I'm positive like Doyle, because it could be worse. You're getting a point in the opening match of the group stage, but we are better than them. On paper, pound for pound, we are better than them. In the game, we showed we are better than them. But I think when we get that goal, because the game went exactly how I thought in my mind it would go, with Wales defending and just trying to keep it close, wait for that one moment for Gareth Bale to come alive and create that magic. Or if we're over aggressive and we left Daniel James in those positions to be 1v1 and you're just in a foot race, pace for pace, that they would have that breakthrough. But we made it so predictable. I thought both Walker Zimmerman and Tim Ream did a good job of playing with each other. One would go, one would drop, and they would provide that cover, and it was seamless. I thought that was very positive in the first half. we made it easy for ourselves in terms of defending. But once we got that goal, and now we said, hey, Wales, come. You can't drop now. They still sat, and we didn't take it to them. We didn't take those opportunities to be a little bit more aggressive. And that's what, for me, is a little bit disappointing, because we did enough to win this game. We should have won this game. However, we didn't lose the game. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, I still think looking forward, we're going to give England and Iran more trouble than Wales, because of the style that they play. You don't know how much Gareth Bale has in his legs, because I thought he overextended himself in this game, having to run a little bit more than probably he wanted to. But I think we just didn't take around the box. We weren't good enough. We didn't make those passes where you could play into Josh Sargent his feet and run off, playing those 1-2s, have Josh Sargent making runs, hard runs into the corners of the box. We didn't see that. Josh Sargent, I also wasn't pleased with his positioning when the ball was wide. He wasn't central. He wasn't playing in between a center back or playing off the shoulder. Too often he was caught out of position. So we didn't have a deep threat in the box for a cross. So yeah, there's a lot to digest. However, it's a good step. It's a good, encouraging, promising result, because you did get a point, but we could do more. We should have got the win. So I'll leave it at that. I'm conflicted on the inside, because on one hand, we got a point. Now we're in England. England's feeling really good. I feel like we're set up well to play against England and get a result against England. And on the other side, I think a win would have guaranteed us a spot in the next round. So it's kind of one of those things where, man, we really could have done ourselves justice by securing this 3 points to make sure that we were essentially going to be into the next round.
The one thing we know, though, it's never easy.
Nope,
Never easy, and there were moments where, like you said, it wasn't sharp in the final third. Maybe Sargent doesn't make the right run. Maybe Pulisic, keeps his head down. Maybe someone takes a bad touch, which happened time and again. I think coming out of this game, there will be a better because it's such a young group, right? I think there will be a better understanding among those guys of how quickly you have to execute in those moments. And so that, and the fact that they were, I thought, pretty clear-eyed in how they wanted to build from the back, and were able to do it very well. I can't, after what we went through in 2018, I can't bring myself to be spitting venom here. Like I'm okay with this,
Yeah, there's no venom from me. I guess again, to go to that disappointment, it's what Charlie said about it being complicated or hard, as you said, Doyle, that this isn't easy. And there for 86 minutes, not that it was, but we had an opportunity to up the level of ease in getting onto the knockout round, to make these next two games a little bit more straightforward, to make the England game and scoreboard watching that Iran-Wales game less stressful. And that's something you can forget after 8 years. And of course, Wales has not forgotten, I'm sure, for 64 years. It's just how stressful this is. 270 minutes in 90-minute blocks. All it takes is one error, and we haven't talked about the one error, really. Yeah, Walker Zimmerman, a tackle I think you can describe as rash, a decision he would not make again, obviously. Doyle, what did you make of that moment in the match?
I mean, it was the one time the U.S. fell asleep on throw-in. I was going to say a set piece, but like they completely went to sleep on that throw-in from Wales, and give credit to Aaron Ramsey for sneaking in behind and seizing the moment right there. And I think Walker Zimmerman saw that and kind of knew that Gareth Bale was right there, and he made a rash tackle to try to scramble away what had happened because of a sort of a systemic collapse from these guys. And it goes back to being another harsh but I think valuable lesson. Like you can't put your heads down for a moment on an attacking set piece or attacking throw-in, which is essentially a set piece for a team like Wales with how they play. I mean, nobody involved for the U.S. covered themselves in glory in that moment. And it was also one of only 2 times Wales came close to scoring. This is not a bad team, guys. I know Charlie says that the U.S. are better on paper, and I get that. But at the same time, Wales got out of the group in the Euros last year. They made the semifinals of Euro 2016. They have guys like Ramsey and Bale, very, very good players, very experienced players, not just in competitions like this, but also in Champions League, and Premier League, and La Liga. So it's like, yeah, it's just a really harsh lesson for everyone from Tim Ream, who fell asleep, to I think to Walker Zimmerman, like everybody except Tyler Adams fell asleep in that moment. That's what happens. So hopefully it doesn't happen against England.
There are the group standings in Group B. First match day over England, full 3 points, 6-2 winners against Iran in the early match, +4 on goal differential. They are off to a good start toward finishing atop this group. United States and Wales both on a point each after a draw. Obviously, goal differential 0 for both of them, -4 goal differential for Iran, who had a tough morning. Had some moments against England, but during a stressful period for those players, given what's happening in that country and representing that country on a world stage right now. You could see there was a certain weight on their shoulders that England was able to take advantage of, in addition to sort of the disruption that the goalkeeper being forced out of the match, thanks to concussion protocol provided. All right, it's Black Friday, U.S.-England, 1-1 in the opener in 2010. We all remember that. Rob Green, Clint Dempsey. That was the beginning of what would be a group-topping performance from the U.S. We'll have another watch-along for that one. Bradley Wright Phillips will join us. Should be a good time. Myself, Charlie, and Bradley, and then Matt coming in for the post-game show. Christina Unkel, who's been a really great resource for us as well. Here's our referee expert for that game as well. Let's look ahead. Where was Gio Reyna? Would have been nice to have Gio.
He's injured. I have from a couple sources close to the team that he picked up a knock. I'm not sure how bad it is. I don't think it's going to rule him out for the rest of the tournament, rest of the first round at least, of the group stage at least. But the reason he did not play today is because he picked up an injury.
What are you looking for against England, Charlie? You said you're encouraged. You think that they can get a result. Obviously, yes. England are the favorites in this group. What encourages you?
Well, Iran had moments when watching this game in the morning. They throw numbers forward, and because they are so confident in their 1v1 marking, Eric Dyer and John Stones largely were 1v1 in a lot of instances, and Iran just didn't have the players. Taremi also had opportunities where he just wasn't, I think, quick enough, and the balls in behind weren't good enough. But that ball behind the back shoulders of both Dyer and John Stones is on, and they were vulnerable, and they had those moments, and Iran just wasn't, I guess, clinical. They defended well, I'd say, for the first 30 minutes or so, but then they just didn't get that pressure. They played so narrow, and then if you're going to give Kieran Trippier that much space and Luke Shaw, eventually things are going to happen for England, and that's exactly what happened. They were pressing on set pieces. Then you get the cross from Luke Shaw to Jude Bellingham. Once that goal went in, you could see that the pressure basically was gone from England, and they just wiped the floor. And again, to our point, England kept going. They didn't stop. We got that goal, we stopped.
Yep. And
so therefore, I think if we can be a little bit more defensive in this game against England, but when that opportunity does provide a chance for us to get on the ball and play quick and be direct and not so much side to side, I think we will find those moments to get a chance on goal.
What are the odds the U.S. gets to the knockout round? Where do you have those at right now, Doyle? I'm thinking of different scenarios. One of them would be England win and Wales win, and all of a sudden Wales is on 4 points. England's on 6, already guaranteed to go through, and the U.S. is on 1, and a draw between Wales and England would put them out. How much is on this game against England? I mean, how deep down the scenario hole should we go? Because there are other scenarios. They're positive ones. That's the negative one.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds at for you? Do you still think this is a good chance for the U.S. to get out?
It still feels like a coin flip to me. I don't think that England will be interested in taking the foot off the gas in that final game against Wales, even if they're on 6 points already. I don't expect Gareth Bale to have much in the tank in that final game. Even if Wales are on 4 points or even just 1 or 2 points and desperately need it. So I think it still feels like a coin flip to me. It would be very nice if the U.S. were able to get something against England, but I don't think you can count on that, especially given that I expect that Berhalter is going to have to rotate the squad a little bit, maybe to protect some of the guys who are on those yellow cards.
We'll see. Here's how Group B stands. England on top, 3 points. Wales, U.S., point apiece after a 1-1 draw. Timothy Weah with the goal. His father, George, in the stands. George never played in a World Cup, an absolute legend in the game. But his son scores the first goal as the U.S. return to the World Cup in 2022. Iran at the bottom of Group B. Black Friday, U.S. England will be back for the watch along. Canada starts their tournament in Qatar on Wednesday. David Goss, Susanna Collins, Pa Maduka will have the watch along for you on YouTube Live as well as on Twitch. Club and Country Today is your source every single day wherever you listen to podcasts, and also, I believe, on Twitter Spaces, depending on the day, to tune in to what's going on in the World Cup. Listen in. More takes on this U.S.-Wales game coming from David Goss and Bobby Warshaw later tonight.
Black Friday.
Yeah, hey, I know you're big on that one, Charlie. You already got the U.S. gear, so send some my way, man. That's
Happy
it for us. Big
Thanksgiving
thanks
to
for tuning
everybody.
in. Thank you to Bruce Arena for joining us today. Thanks to Charlie. Thanks for Doyle for jumping in. Go check out his column at MLSsoccer.com with all his takes in written form. Big thanks to all the producers on the back end who made this possible. Thomas Formoso and Anders Arhus among them. We're out of here. World Cup is back tomorrow, folks. Canada on Wednesday, U.S. on Friday. Adios.